Of those, I would say some dozens have expressed an interest in leaving.
During the American Embassy evacuation, no shots were fired and no major casualties reported. 2 explosions at a counterterrorism police facility in northwest Pakistan, killing at least 7 and wounding 45. The Pakistani Taliban has claimed similar attacks recently. Also at townhall.com, Americans continue to have access to the abortion pill mifepristone following the Supreme Court's Friday night announcement. Correspondent Mark Sherman reports the Fifth Circuit Court will be the next venue to take up the Texas case that questions FDA approval of that drug.
It has scheduled arguments for May 17th. There's no timetable for when it might issue a decision. And then it's entirely possible that the losing side in the Fifth Circuit will go to the Supreme Court. That wouldn't happen probably until late summer at the very earliest, and it could be months after that before the justices even decide whether to hear the case.
Correspondent Mark Sherman. 2 moves by cable network news stations. Tucker Carlson has left Fox News, and longtime CNN host Don Lemon is out at that cable news network. The Dow ahead 26 points, but the NASDAQ is down 39. More at townhall.com.
Sleep Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. And in the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. The crazy thing is, this never ends. Even when you die, your family's now going to be stuck with this burden. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. 800-626-5252. That's 800-626-5252. 800-626-5252.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by The Dental Link. Call Dr. Alan Link today, 314-794-6464 to schedule your free consultation. Offices in Baldwin and Melville, 314-794-6464. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. We have southerly winds today and for the most part, sunny skies. Temperatures topping out in the lower 60s this afternoon. Cloud cover will steadily increase as the evening wears on, and thankfully tonight, no worry about a frost or a freeze. Overnight lows drop to 48 degrees, and then tomorrow enjoying another day of temperatures in the mid-60s. But starting Tuesday and continuing through Sunday, we have rain chances. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com. Tony Colombo.
Libertarianism is all about individual liberty.
Katie Fitzpatrick.
Oh, good for you.
Colombo and Katie on News Talk STL.
Time to rise has been engaged with better best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song, the finest hour, the finest hour.
Hello and welcome to a brand new week, Monday afternoon here on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. I am Tony Colombo. My partner is Katie Fitzpatrick, and holy moly, it's a busy Monday in the news cycle today. How are you?
Like a crazy turn of events back to back to back. I just was like, all of a sudden, surprise.
Yeah.
There is a news dump.
Dude, I already had a ton I wanted to talk about today. Like yesterday, like after the weekend, thinking, because I was out on Thursday and Friday thinking, all the things that have happened and all the things I want to talk about. Like, man, got a lot I want to talk about on Monday. And then this morning,
Here's this.
like a whole, like you said, giant news dump lands on all of us. So we'll get into some of the stories from my trip. I was at the Mall of America when they had to close it because of the armed person that was not listening to police officers, and they had to call in
Oh my gosh,
a
Tony.
crisis negotiator. Yeah, we were there. We were pulling into the parking lot as everybody was running, literally sprinting out.
Oh my gosh.
Like, here's all of these people running out, hundreds of people just running out of the mall, just like chaos.
Was it just like like an absolute flood of people?
Yes.
That is so terrifying.
And then here's police running in.
Oh my gosh, Tony.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So we're like, what is going on? We were there. Like, of all the random weird things, of course, because we were in Minneapolis this weekend for Maggie's regional gymnastics championship meet, and so that's why we were up there. And none of us had ever been to the Mall of America, and so we told Maggie that we would bring her. She's been wanting to go shopping at a Lululemon.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And apparently they have one at that mall. So we
Yay,
were like,
Maggie.
we kind of tied it in as part of this trip. Like, hey, we'll go up there and we'll do this and we'll go to the mall and sure the mall has a toy store or like fun stuff for James, and Maggie can go to Lululemon and we'll do all this. So here we go. Here come the Colombos. Just
Making their way.
no idea, nothing about Minneapolis. First time ever there, like
Golly.
doing our thing here. Okay, follow the GPS. Is this it? Because it doesn't really look like a mall. It kind of just looks
Okay.
like buildings downtown. Like, it really doesn't look like a mall. It's
Which
just
is
kind of,
wild because it's Mall of America.
yeah. I guess it's so big that it looks like a convention center almost. Like, it doesn't even really look like its own kind of thing. I don't know. It just didn't look like what I thought it was going to look like. It didn't look like a mall, like traditional mall. So GPS and like, is this it? Is this the right place? Is this where we park? Blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden we see like just people just this mass of people just sprinting out. People carrying kids or holding kids by their hands and running out of the mall. And
What was your first thought?
my first thought was, this is bad. Like, I've seen this before. Like, there's a vibe. There's like I don't even know how to explain this. From covering so many protests and events, like that have happened, like in the streets.
Yeah, contentious events.
Yeah. Like there's like a vibe that is in the air, and there's like a look on people's faces when they're truly like scared or like running, like like this is a bad situation. Like, so I was like, I've seen this before. And Christine just couldn't get her head around it. She was like, well, let's just park and figure out what's going on. I was like, this is bad.
Let's not.
I was like, let's get out of here because this is bad. And then when the cops got there and started like just flying into the building, then she was like, okay, you're right. This is something that's like crazy.
I cannot believe that you guys had that experience. I'm like trying to be empathetic and even think about a world where, like, put myself in your shoes, pulling up to a parking lot of a place I've never been, thinking it was going to be this really fun, awesome day, and seeing mass chaos like that. I feel like you're describing like parental intuition. And I know that you're talking about like all of your experience and everything whenever you're working out, whenever you did work protests. But I feel like also just as a parent, you're just like describing this crazy intuition of like, this is a bad situation. This does not feel right.
Yeah.
And we're living in a world right now where it's all too common for people to lose their mind and go to a place with lots of people and do something bad.
Well, and then as I'm learning, like I'm looking everywhere, like trying to find out what's going on and read about, the situation that's happening. I start getting into like going down the rabbit hole of like local Minneapolis news reports and the issues that they are dealing with, and it is identical to St. Louis. Like there was so many articles about how, like a once great city that people could go down to. Like they even brought up like outside of what happened at the Mall of America, I was reading like older stories or just like or commentary or editorials that have been written recently talking about how like Mall of America used to be a great place that you could bring your family, but now it's not safe and families don't want to go down there anymore. I mean, it sounded like people talking about downtown St. Louis. Like,
Wow.
oh man, I loved going to Cardinal games and Blues games and everything, but I just hate going downtown. I don't like bringing my family downtown, or I like, used to go to shows, or go out to eat, or whatever in the city, but now we just don't do that anymore because it's just not safe. Like it sounded like what they're dealing with, like what they're
So
going
similar.
through is exactly what we're going through.
Wow.
Yeah, like it was crazy, but it goes to show you that these are issues that are affecting everybody across the country. Like we're all dealing with the same issues: crime, education, government overreach, Second Amendment issue.
Yeah.
Like it's very similar.
You leave St. Louis to escape it, only to go to Minneapolis
Right.
to be in the thick of it again.
It was ridiculous. And luckily nobody was I don't think anybody was shot. I don't even think there was ever any shots fired. There was a bunch of mixed reports at the beginning. There was some reports of shots being fired, but there actually never was.
Okay.
There was a standoff with this guy who was brandishing a weapon, and it was a 3-hour situation with crisis negotiators to get him under control. And during that, while that was happening, a near riot broke out on another completely unrelated fight broke out in a different part of the mall.
Wow.
So it's like all these reports are coming in and they're inaccurately conflating them like it was the same situation, and it wasn't the same situation. It was completely two separate things.
Golly.
But just all this madness happening at once, and we looked at each other, we're like, where are we at?
Yeah,
What
we're
is
just
happening?
here for a meet.
Yeah. Luckily, there was another shopping mall there,
Good.
like another mall in the area that was like 15 minutes away that also had a Lululemon.
Great.
So
That's
Mag-
all we need.
So Maggie got her Lululemon. She'd been
Good.
saving up her money to buy a pair of shorts, for God's sakes, just a pair of shorts. And she accomplished that. But yeah, it was wild stuff. We can talk about it a little bit later, maybe if we have some time. But and then, as you said, we get in this morning, and all this other stuff is happening and taking over the news cycle. So we are going to, in a few moments, talk to Hogan Gidley. He's the vice chair for the Center for Election Integrity. He's also the former national press secretary for the Donald Trump campaign. So there's a lot of campaign things to talk about. There's a new poll out regarding the Biden administration, or Joe Biden himself, and his approval rating and whether people want him to run or not. And now they're saying he's going to announce this week.
Well, okay, yeah, because this is what's happening right
It
now.
was this week. Now it's
why?
this week.
But
it
why?
was at the beginning of the year. Then it was right after the State of the Union. Then it was supposed to be right at the beginning of spring, like in March. And then it was, it's not going to happen until this summer or fall. And then now today, the news is he's going to announce this week.
I bet people are just sick and tired of the back and forth. They're just kind of like the fatigue. Like, I think
Yes.
it's hit you. I think it's hit the American public. We're like,
Dude.
all right, dude,
Yes. So
come on.
there's new polls out discussing that stuff. So we'll get into that as we go through the show. Definitely talk that stuff with Hogan Gidley because of his experience working on campaigns, presidential campaigns. And then, of course, out of nowhere today comes the news that Fox News has parted ways with Tucker Carlson, and CNN fired Don Lemon. Two very different situations, by the way, at least from the reporting that I've read.
Mhm.
The Fox situation is being reported much more as a mutual parting of ways, whereas the CNN situation is CNN fired Don Lemon.
Yes.
Said your services are no longer needed here at the network. So we'll do Tucker first, which is so interesting. Just listen to this. Here's the announcement. Here's the story about Tucker Carlson from Fox, CNN, and MSNBC. Here's the Fox story about Tucker Carlson. Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways, the network announced on Monday. We thank him for his service to the network as a host and prior to that as a contributor, a Fox News Media spokesperson said in a statement. An interim program, Fox News Tonight, will air at 8 p.m. Eastern until a permanent replacement for Carlson is named. Fox News Tonight will be hosted by a rotation of various Fox News personalities. The last edition of Tucker Carlson Tonight aired on Friday, April 21. The show began airing in 2016. That was the story from Fox.
Very vanilla. Very
Just
vanilla.
the facts, ma'am, right? Here's the story from CNN. Fox News and Tucker Carlson, the right-wing extremists who hosted the network's highly rated 8 p.m. hour, have severed ties, the network said in a stunning announcement Monday. The announcement came 1 week after Fox News settled a monster defamation lawsuit with Dominion Voting Systems for $787.5 million over the network's dissemination of election lies. Tucker Carlson, a key figure in Dominion Voting Systems' mammoth defamation lawsuit against Fox News, which the parties settled last week on the brink of trial for a historic $787 million. We just went over that in the last sentence. In some ways, Carlson played an outsized role in the litigation. Only one of the 20 allegedly defamatory Fox broadcasts mentioned in the lawsuit came from Carlson's top-rated show. But as CNN exclusively reported, he was set to be one of Dominion's first witnesses to testify at trial, and his private text messages, which became public as part of the suit, reverberated nationwide. Dominion got its hands on Carlson's group chat with fellow Fox primetime stars Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham, and a trove of other messages from around the 2020 presidential election. These communications revealed that Carlson told confidants that he passionately hated former President Donald Trump and that Trump's tenure in the White House was a disaster. The lawsuit exposed how Carlson privately held a wholly different view than his on-air persona. A Dominion spokesperson did not comment on Carlson's departure from Fox. Carlson's departure at Fox comes after the network also severed ties with right-wing bomb thrower Dan Bongino, who had been a regular fixture on the network's program in addition to hosting a weekend show. So the CNN statement starts with right-wing extremist and goes on from there. And then here's the MSNBC report.
This one's got to be real bad.
Of Tucker Carlson leaving Fox News. It seems difficult to believe, but Tucker Carlson is no longer with Fox News. The network released this press statement midday on Monday. Fox News has not yet specified the reason for the breakup, and a spokesperson did not immediately respond to an email from NBC News. It was a year ago this week that the New York Times published a detailed analysis on Carlson's on-air broadcasts. A New York Times analysis of 1,150 episodes reveals how Tucker Carlson pushes extremist ideas and conspiracy theories into millions of households 5 nights a week. He's done so since the beginning, but the show has gotten darker. For now, it's unclear whether the controversial host will take his extremist ideas and conspiracy theories to another network or whether Carlson has a different plan in mind. But as the dust settles on the announcement and timing of the development stands out, it was 7 weeks ago, for example, when the controversial host aired deceptive January 6th footage after being granted exclusive access from House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. More importantly, as NBC News noted, this comes on the heels of Fox agreeing to pay nearly $800 million to Dominion Voting Systems to avert a high-stakes defamation trial that had cast a shadow over the future of the network. The Washington Post, in a report that has not been independently verified by MSNBC or NBC News, added that it was Carlson's comments about Fox management, as revealed in the Dominion case, that played a role in his departure from Fox. So again, extremist used multiple times, extremist views and what was the other one?
Right wing conspiracy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and conspiracy theories.
Theories,
That was it. That was it. Right wing extremists and conspiracy theories. Also, this line about a New York Times analyst of 1,150 episodes reveals how Tucker Carlson pushes extremist ideas and conspiracy theories into millions of households 5 nights a week. He's done so since the beginning, but the show has gotten darker.
It's so unbelievable. I don't know. We don't know why this happened. Everyone has been reporting that both people left and it was fine and it was agreeable, even amicable. But do we know what really happened? No, because nobody has gotten an exclusive with Tucker Carlson. This is what I will say for sure. Tucker Carlson was one of the only people that Americans could rely upon. There are people that watched Fox News solely for Tucker Carlson and him alone because they felt that they could trust him. They felt that he was spreading a lot of truth in a world full of chaos. And Tucker put a lot of things in a rational sense, a logical sense. He did all of those things for the American public. To not have him on your network anymore, to let him walk out the door, there had to be something critical because of he is the highest ranked primetime television host. And the money he brought in, money talks more than anything. And even if Fox News disagreed with maybe some of Tucker Carlson's outlook on life, he brought in a lot of money and a lot of viewerships. There has got to be a reason that they let him go that we do not know about. And that will come out. That will definitely come out in the next couple of days.
Or maybe he left.
Or maybe he left because something, maybe he left. But to lose Dan Bongino last week and then Tucker Carlson this week and who knows who else, there is going to be a big blow to the network.
Yeah.
Huge blow to the network.
And then on the Don Lemon side of things, the report is that CNN's embattled anchor Don Lemon has been fired. The announcement was made also earlier today. Lemon posted a statement on Twitter that he had been terminated, calling himself stunned and expressing anger that he hadn't been contacted directly. He said, quote, "I was informed this morning by my agent that I have been terminated by CNN. I am stunned." CNN CEO Chris Licht said in a memo that the two outlets had parted ways. He said, quote, "Don will forever be a part of the CNN family, and we thank him for his contributions over the last 17 years. We wish him luck, and we'll be cheering him on in his future endeavors." Don Lemon put out a statement after that saying, quote, "After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought that someone in management would have the decency to tell me directly. At no time was I ever given any indication that I would not be able to continue to do the work I have loved at the network. It is clear that there are some larger issues at play," to which CNN immediately responded to by saying, quote, "Don Lemon's statement about this morning's events is inaccurate.
Yeah.
He was offered an opportunity to meet with management, but instead released a statement on Twitter."
Yeah.
So this whole claim that after 17 years, he found out from his agent and nobody from CNN management had the decency to reach out to him, according to CNN, is complete nonsense. That they absolutely reached out to him, but he refused to speak with them and instead decided to put out a inflammatory tweet.
It's crazy if you put this juxtaposition together, Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon, because on one hand, you lost a host, as I said, with the viewership, the listenership, and the money that he brought in. It's going to be devastating, I think. And then you lose Don Lemon and nobody probably bats an eye. It's like 14 people watch Don Lemon. Nobody gives a rip.
Right.
He said horrible things that we've dug up now from his past.
Yes.
Everyone is a little bit
Terrible
more like
things.
good
Like,
riddance to the dude.
beyond the Nikki Haley stuff that's fresh in everybody's mind, like horrible things he's done and said.
Tony, who do you know? Who can you think of that is going to be like, I'm devastated that Don Lemon is not on TV anymore?
Don Lemon. He's the only
Really?
one that I can think of that would be.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see where all of the above, including Dan Bongino,
Yes.
who, of course, you can hear every day here on News Talk STL, your exclusive home of the Dan Bongino radio show, is us here at News Talk STL. But what television, if any, are the three of them going to end up on?
I think there's gonna be a lot of people campaigning for Tucker Carlson.
I bet they don't end up at the same place. Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon. I bet you they don't end up at the same network.
You think?
I don't think they'll end up working together. All right, still lots to talk about, and we have the perfect person to get into some of these discussions with. Hogan Gidley is the vice chair for the Center of Election Integrity and the former national press secretary for the Donald Trump presidential campaign. As I mentioned, they are now saying that the president is going to officially announce that he is running for re-election tomorrow. They're saying that is going to happen tomorrow on the heels of a couple of really bad polls released by one is an NBC poll, another one is a Reuters poll, both out in the last couple days that are ugly business for Joe Biden. So maybe he's trying to turn some things around here as by making this announcement. Also, speaking of the White House, Susan Rice, Biden's top domestic policy advisor, is departing also. So we'll get into that story and more when we talk to Hogan Gidley here in just a moment on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Monday, Chris, Katie, and I back in the saddle. We'll catch you up on all the wild wackiness from the weekend. We'll have former U.S. Senator Jim Talon at 4:25. At 5:25, Susie Moore of Red State.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
I was just talking to someone earlier today about the service department at Weber Chevrolet, somebody looking for some possible work to be done on their vehicle, and I just cannot recommend the team at Weber enough. Weber Chevrolet has been in business in the St. Louis area for well over 100 years, and you don't have that kind of staying power and you don't have that type of relationship with a community unless you are doing right by your customers, and that is certainly what happens every time you visit a Weber Chevrolet location. 3 dealerships to serve you around the area: Creve Coeur in Missouri, Granite City, and Columbia in Illinois. And as we've talked about, not only do they offer you the best price on a new or used vehicle and the best price on your trade-in. In fact, last Wednesday, when Skip Weber joined us, as he does every Wednesday for Close's Cabinet, he was talking about how this is actually a kind of the best of both worlds right now at Weber Chevrolet, because the inventory numbers, the selection of vehicles are starting to go back up, but because there is still a shortage of vehicles on the lot, especially used vehicles, they are still paying top dollar for your trade-in. So you can take advantage of that, get top dollar on your trade-in, and have a larger selection of new and used vehicles to choose from right now at all 3 Weber dealerships. And then the service department and just the care that is taken of you and that vehicle for the entire time that you own it after the purchase is second to none at Weber Chevrolet. So learn about everything happening at all 3 dealerships now just by going to WeberChevrolet.com.
Do you have over $10,000 in credit card debt? If you're feeling the financial impact with unprecedented economic challenges, DebtBlue is here for you. With DebtBlue's Success Guarantee, you pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved.
I'm just living sky high right now. I'm very thankful for it, and the team at DebtBlue are phenomenal. They're able to work with you. They're great.
Call for your free debt resolution information now. 800-200-6895. 800-200-6895.
Finding great people to hire can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Their powerful matching technology delivers so many qualified candidates, it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Let's dance in style, let's dance for a while. Heaven can wait, we're only watching the skies. Hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. Are you gonna drop the bomb or not? Let us die young or let us live forever. We don't have the power, but we never say never. Sitting in a sandpit, life is a short trip. The music's for the sad man. Forever young, I wanna be forever young. Do you really want to live forever? Forever and ever.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. As I mentioned, joining us on the line for this segment, back on the show with us is Hogan Gidley, the vice chair for the Center of Election Integrity and the former national press secretary for the Donald Trump presidential campaign. What a perfect person to talk to with all the news that's happening today. Hogan, really appreciate you being back on the show with us today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. I always appreciate the time.
Yeah, you bet. So I wanted to take advantage of your expertise of working now on election integrity and in the past of working on a presidential campaign. I want to get into some of these latest poll numbers and the new reports that it looks like Joe Biden's finally going to announce that he's running for re-election this week. But before we get into all that, I just wanted to get your thoughts on, obviously, in the first segment of the show here, we covered Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson and Dan Bongino, who is a member of our team here at News Talk STL. We play his show right before this show every single day. Obviously, that's the biggest headline of the day, especially Tucker Carlson. What are your thoughts on what's happening at Fox News with Tucker and also with Don Lemon at CNN?
Well, of the three, one of them doesn't matter at all, Don Lemon.
Yeah.
The other two carry with it a whole lot more weight. Obviously, Dan Bongino being a voice for conservatism in the wilderness as he has been, not afraid to go after folks, not afraid to tell the truth. And Tucker, the same type person. I mean, obviously with a huge, massive audience, incredible ratings, number one, if not number two, kind of back and forth on that network. With all he's been able to talk about, all he's been able to expose, it's Fox is probably going to be fine. I just, when you hear the news that Tucker Carlson stepping down, whatever he's going to do in the future, I'm sure will be successful, and I'm sure will continue to carry with it some serious weight and a voice for conservative thought and rational, reasonable discussions on topics of the day. But it's a blow for Fox. I'm sure they're going to say we can move on. It's fine. You know, this network's bigger than any one person. Okay, that's fine. And I don't disagree. But the fact is, Tucker has an audience. They're pretty loyal, and it remains to be seen just how much it impacts that network.
Do you worry about, obviously Tucker Carlson is big enough that he's going to get attention and carry an audience no matter where he goes. But, not every voice is as big or as strong as Tucker Carlson's. And when you see something like this, do you worry at all, two big names in Dan Bongino and Tucker Carlson leaving for separate reasons? I'm not saying anything's related, but, happens at about the same time. Do you ever get worried about, the outlets, the options that these conservative voices have to go to? There just doesn't seem to be as many options for conservative broadcasters as there are for liberal broadcasters.
Right, but that's always been the case. I wouldn't say that's anything new. I think one of the things that we don't yet know are all the details surrounding this departure. I think that's going to be a major issue as we begin to find out what happened. Did they decide that there was some clause inside this Dominion settlement that they had to get out, that they had to do something different in order not to pay the biggest fine? I mean, I don't know where it goes, but you definitely as a network as big as Fox is, you don't want to look like you got browbeaten or pushed around by some company. You're the one who's supposed to speak truth to power. You're the one who's supposed to expose what's going on in the shadows. And it appears as though right now they folded to a large degree. And look, that may be in their best business interest. They may not want to have these fights or have their anchors go on the record on a stand in court and say things that they said privately now publicly. I mean, who knows? There are a million reasons why, and they're smarter than me in figuring out what their business model would allow for them in order to be successful. But that's a part of this, a piece of this puzzle, a piece of this pie, where once we find out what that is, that's going to be a whole nother set of issues for us to discuss. But look, I don't think Tucker's landing spot is necessarily the news now. It's just that he's gone from Fox, and what he does moving forward. Obviously, look, if CNN really had the wherewithal, the desire to look like a better network, even though they're just irrelevant as they can be, go after Tucker.
Yeah, could you
go
imagine?
After Tucker.
Put him in the Don Lemon spot.
Holy
Could you imagine?
moly.
Could you imagine the world?
Absolutely wild.
I would love it.
Hogan, I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of what Tony just asked you. We are moving as conservatives away from traditional TV and cable. And I'm wondering, with your expertise, does it look like conservatives will find a new calling, will find a new place in the digital realm, whether it be podcasts or alternative places like Rumble?
I think they already have in large part. Now, they don't get the ratings or the eyeballs that some of the other things like a big network would, but at the same time, they are viral and they are passed around in ways that, millions, if not tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people see them. And so there is an avenue there to really grow a business model. I mean, look, the Newsmaxes of the world that have been wildly successful up against the Foxes of the world, they don't quite have the viewership yet. But moves like this, where you begin to stifle more and more people on the right that have, conservative voices in the public sphere, the better opportunities there are for other alternative forms of media to kind of take root and grow into something bigger.
Talking to Hogan Gidley, Vice Chair for the Center for Election Integrity, former National Press Secretary for the Donald Trump presidential campaign. And I want to draw upon your experience of being a part of campaigns and ask you this. So I don't know if we've talked directly about this, but for the last several months, I have felt like I'm being personally trolled by the President of the United States with this whole, like, why do you got to keep asking me? How many times do I have to tell you I'm running? Like, I always say, Joe Biden said the same thing. How many times you got to ask? How many times are you going to ask? How many times do you have to say he's going to run before you believe it? Well, he just has to say it once, just once, and then I'll believe it. But he keeps on dodging. He keeps on dodging the question. We were supposed to get an answer at the new year. Then we were supposed to make the announcement right after the State of the Union. Then it was going to be in March, and then it was going to be in September, and now it's going to be tomorrow. What is going on with the president and the delay and all the confusion surrounding making what seems to be what you would think is a pretty simple announcement for a sitting president? From your experience in that area, what could possibly be going on and why all the confusion?
A couple of things here. On the Biden side, he wanted to be president, and he didn't want to campaign to kind of stifle any potential deals he could make, in Congress on debt limits or whatever else comes down the pipe, gun laws, whatever. But at the same time, you got to start hiring people. You got to start making a campaign apparatus that's functional by the time voting starts. And so I think they really wanted to raise money. I think they wanted to build out, something significant to start that process. Conversely, when I was in the White House, I remember I was aboard Air Force One and doing a press gaggle at the back, and a reporter from a prominent outlet asked me something about the president. Was he going to announce for re-election? Are you sure he's going to run, et cetera, et cetera? And I kind of looked at her and I laughed and I said, why don't you call the campaign and ask? And the point I was trying to make was, we already had a campaign up and running that was raising money, that was sending out emails and text messages. And I remember the reporter said, oh, so you don't know if he's running? And I said, What I'm telling you is there's an actual campaign. Joe Biden didn't have that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people were speculating about why he didn't. And let's be honest, a lot of that was health related, as we now see with a majority of Democrats, a majority of Americans not wanting Joe Biden to run again. And a reason for that, the number one reason, was age. So I think they looked around and said, all right, I think we need to go ahead and do this so at least we can stop having to answer that question.
Yeah, so to your point, this new poll that came out last night shows that a huge majority of Americans across the board oppose Joe Biden running for president again. And, as we always say, polls are, unreliable. Take them with a grain of salt, certainly. But when you see multiple organizations multiple polls from multiple organizations over a long period of time, kind of all showing the same things, like the Reuters poll that came out last week that showed Biden's approval rating back below 40%, nearly the lowest level of his presidency. And then this NBC poll that you just mentioned, Hogan, that came out yesterday that shows nearly 3 out of 4 Americans, 70% of Americans, including a majority of Democrats, do not think that Joe Biden should run for re-election, with the major reason, as you mentioned, being his age. Now, of course, there's a lot of other issues in there that factor into what people are saying. But as a person who has experience in this high level, presidential election area, but then also as just a conservative, voter, when you see this president, what do you see as his chances of being reelected? And would for the first time maybe in a long time, maybe he's not the best person. A sitting president is not the best person for his own party to run. What do you make of the polls and everything surrounding this?
Well, no president in history with an approval rating that low has ever won re-election. Okay. Trump's was higher. Obama's was way higher. So Biden really is having some problems. And look, we're still, 18, 17 months away. He can still screw up a lot of things between now and then. And as more and more information comes out about what he knew and when he knew it on Afghanistan, what he knew when he knew it on Hunter Biden and his laptop, and or the Russian disinformation lie, and or dealings with China, a lot of things are still out there that can bite Joe Biden and prevent re-election. But I would just argue, if nothing else comes out at all, not one more scandal, not one more piece of information that would lead to an innuendo, the guy just is a horrible president. He cannot have a success nationally. He can't have success internationally. He has brought this country to record lows. I talk about the record highs that Donald Trump experienced. This guy with a willing, witting press that does everything he wants him to do still can't get a lot of good information out there because he is just so awful at this. The American people see it. And on top of that, the guy's health is clearly failing, and they're going to want to change, I think.
And, of course, before we let you go, Hogan, obviously what you guys are working on at the Center for Election Integrity is going to be integral and play a big role going into the 2024 election, obviously, coming off of all the controversy from the last presidential election. Remind folks, what you guys are all about there at the Center for Election Integrity, what you guys are working on, and how people can follow you.
Thanks a lot. Look, I think we're a whole lot better off now than we were in 2020, but we're not near as close to perfection as we're going to be by the time 2024 rolls around. Right now, we have a ton of states in session, and we're doing some good things by not just introducing laws, but getting some passed, even some signed, stopping things like ranked choice voting, which is this ridiculous method where the person who gets the most votes may not be declared the winner. And while this may work for the grand poobah election at the local moose club, it's not good for statewide office or for president. So there are a lot of things we're looking at doing at the local level, getting people involved in ballot harvesting campaigns and ballot chasing to make sure that the ballots that are sent out are actually cast and then gotten to the right place. So a lot of things like that, they all have to happen at the local level because you guys know better than most that these laws by design inside the Constitution are given over to the states and the legislatures to decide. And, what works in Missouri may not work in Maine or Mississippi or Massachusetts. And so you guys get to decide what works best in the Show Me State. And right now, we're trying to get a lot of good things done, and we've passed a lot of laws. So the American people support it. They want free, fair, honest elections. They want the faith, trust, and confidence returned to the process. And for too long, people have been questioning outcomes and concerned about machines and concerned about ballots and everything else. It's time to fix it, and the legislatures need to do it. And I think they're stepping up, at least in some states. You can forget states like California. They're never going to come around over there with 10 million live ballots. They just can't account for over there. So they got all kinds of problems. They know where every avocado is. I can promise you that. They know where every cluster of grapes is. They know that, but they don't know where their votes are.
No.
That's just weird.
That is weird, and you are spot on. That is Hogan Gidley, Vice Chair for the Center for Election Integrity. Always appreciate your time and look forward to having you back on again very soon, Hogan. Have a great rest of your day.
Anytime, y'all. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Great stuff there from Hogan Gidley. As I mentioned, Susan Rice, Joe Biden's top domestic policy advisor, is leaving on the heels of these terrible new poll numbers that are out as well. And yeah, apparently he's going to announce tomorrow. That's what the reports out of the White House are saying now. April 25th, which is tomorrow, right? So I'll believe it when I see it. But we'll get into the Susan Rice situation. Also, there is a piece of legislation that has sprung up and is making its way through the Missouri legislative session that involves removing taxes from gun purchases. And where I stand on this may be a little bit of a surprise to folks out there. So we will get into that story as well as we go through the afternoon here on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Stream Colombo and Katie at newstalkstl.com. Follow us on Getter at newstalkstl. The news and talk.
These are felony crimes in New York State, no matter who you are.
That matters to St. Louis.
The Trump indictment is the biggest thing to help Donald Trump.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
It affects our democracy.
News Talk STL.
Hello, it's me, back for my friends at Gutter Pros. We just had our gutters done last week by the great team at Gutter Pros, and we couldn't be happier. This was one of these projects that we all have that are just kind of hanging over your head, and you know it has to be done, but you just don't know how much is this going to cost, how big of a deal is this going to be, how invasive, how intrusive, how long is it going to take, how much is it going to cost, and it bugs you. And that is why you need a team that you can trust when you are working on these type of projects. And we were thrilled when we met the team out at Gutter Pros. Dave Sylvester and his team there are just the best. They were the right team for our home. And if you have a gutter project that you need on your home or your building, I would recommend that you call them. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team. They bring years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. They have services that include leaf protection, gutter repair, new gutter installation, and they offer free estimates, which is awesome because it's no skin off your teeth if you have a gutter project to have the team at Gutter Pros come out and take a look, and then at least you have that information of how much it's going to cost and what needs to be done and all the options that you have to move forward with that project. Remember, at Gutter Pros, water goes where we tell it, and you can call them now at 314-656-7195 or just visit them on the website, gutterpros.com. That's gutterpros.com.
Mom's Day, Dad's Day, birthday, maybe wedding day. Whatever the special occasion is, make sure you get the right gift. And that's where my friends at Bluss Jewelry come in. Mike Ferguson here, and I was amazed at the choices in their Creve Coeur store. They're just west of 270 on Olive Road. If you're not sure what to get, don't worry. Ramona and her team will help you find the right piece at the right price. She's the store owner, and she spent her entire career helping families in St. Louis. Learn more at BlussedJewelers.com.
Hey, Colombo here for the great team at All Solutions Pest Control. We've been using pest control services at our home for years, and the results we've had with All Solutions are second to none. So if you're experiencing a pest problem, or more importantly, want to prevent a problem, All Solutions Pest Control are the ones to call. Right now, you can take advantage of their incredible $67 introductory offer. Learn more and contact them now at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Trying to get our way into the night. Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Another big thanks to Hogan Gidley for joining us in that last segment. If you missed that conversation or just want to make sure you never miss any conversation that we have here on Colombo and Katie, make sure you are subscribed to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform, whatever it may be, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google. We are on all of them and more, and we put out every show as a podcast shortly after we get off the air. So just make sure you're subscribed to Colombo and Katie. Subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel while it lasts, and, of course, also subscribe to News Talk STL on Facebook and Rumble, and check out our website, newstalkstl.com, and our app. Man, News Talk STL is everywhere. Make sure you are subscribe to the Colombo and Katie and all of the show's podcasts here at the station. Susan Rice, Joe Biden's top domestic policy advisor, is departing. President Joe Biden said today that Susan Rice will leave her post next month as director of the White House Domestic Policy Council. Rice had broad sway on the administration's approach to health care, immigration, and racial inequality. Rice, a longtime Democratic foreign policy expert who served as President Barack Obama's national security advisor and UN ambassador, also worked closely with then Vice President Joe Biden in those roles and was on his short list to become his running mate during the 2020 campaign. Quote, after more than 2 years of her steady leadership of the Domestic Policy Council, it's clear there is no one more capable and determined to get important things done for the American people than Susan Rice, Biden said in a statement announcing her departure. So, I don't know. Is that a signal to you about anything, or do you think it's just Susan Rice has just kind of run her course there with
I don't know. I think that she might have been, Chris and Tim always say this, that she was probably one of the people actually running that administration.
Which would make you think, why would she leave?
Correct. And that's the only thing that would make me have pause, because I know that she's very influential. And maybe she is like, before the chaos of this announcement happens, let me step out real quick because, A, I don't believe possibly in this president, and I'm not going to say that, but B, I'm not going to try to help him win an election maybe again. So I don't know. It does put up some red flags to me that Susan Rice and not just like an everyday staffer.
Yeah. Yep. Speaking of some of the drama happening at the White House, we touched on these numbers with Hogan Gidley, but just to give you an idea of just how bad these most recent polls are, first, we have the Reuters poll that came out late last week showing Biden's approval rating nearing the lowest level of his presidency. His approval rating has slipped below 40%, almost matching the lowest approval rating of his presidency. The poll found that only 39% of Americans approve the job Joe Biden is doing as president. The latest poll numbers are down 3 percentage points from last month's poll, where 42% of respondents said that they approve of Biden's performance as president. When asked about the biggest problem the country is facing, 20% of respondents said the economy, while 10% said either the environment or crime were the biggest problems. So that was the Reuters poll late last week. And then yesterday, a new NBC poll shows that nearly 3 out of 4 Americans don't believe Joe Biden should run for re-election. According to the survey from NBC News, 70% of Americans, including 51% of Democrats, do not think Joe Biden should run for president, with 26% supporting a run by Joe Biden. Almost half the respondents who voted no cited Biden's age as their major concern. Multiple reports out this past week have said that Biden and his team are expected to make an announcement via a campaign video on April 25th, which will be the 4-year anniversary of his 2020 campaign launch. April 25th is tomorrow.
See, this goes back to the Susan Rice stuff. I'm sure she's not looking at, the CNBC, she's not looking at Fox News and MSNBC polls or things like that. But there's internal knowledge that she knows and that administration knows that ain't nobody happy.
That's pathetic.
And no one is happy, and they haven't been happy.
Of Democrat voters
so bad.
Don't want him to run?
And what do you campaign
Over half
on?
Democrats?
What do you do? I mean, if he's going to announce, what does he have to campaign on? There's nothing.
I can't remember any poll where 70% of Americans said don't
felt one way.
Yeah.
Whether like or dislike, I've never seen a poll with 70%.
Yeah, that's a big number. So a lot for him to overcome. But again, as we've talked about before, who else is there? He's still the best the Democrat Party has to offer. I still believe if there's anybody that can beat Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis, I don't think he will. I think that I think whoever the Republican nominee
he's their best chance.
has the biggest, has the advantage big time. But I think that of all the Democrats, he has a better chance than any of them, which is crazy.
Nuts.
Because he is so bad. But that's how bad that party is right now in the potential candidates. All right, as I mentioned, I want to get into this Missouri gun tax law that is going through the legislative session. We'll get into that and more as we go through Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Michael's Flooring Outlet is a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years, featuring exclusive products, unbeatable prices, and expert installation. You can choose from a wide variety of flooring options, including carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, plus many other options. And you'll gain a peace of mind knowing that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in-store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home online. Check out everything Michael's Flooring has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Chaos has engulfed Sudan as 2 rival generals fight for control. Amnesty International's Abdullah Hassan says the UK, the U.S., and other Foreign countries have evacuated their embassy staff over the weekend.
We also received reports of attacks on foreigners, including diplomatic personnel. We have had reports of the EU ambassador to Sudan getting attacked. We've also seen reports of U.S. diplomatic convoy getting attacked.
And after personnel were flown out of Khartoum on helicopters, the United States closed its diplomatic mission indefinitely. Also at townhall.com, Russian-appointed authorities in Crimea say the military has fended off a Ukrainian strike on the port of Sevastopol, while a drone was allegedly found in a forest near Moscow.
An official in Sebastopol says the military has destroyed a Ukrainian sea drone that attempted to attack the harbour, adding that another drone blew up without inflicting any damage. The attacks, the latest in a series of attempted strikes on the city, the main naval base in Crimea that Russia illegally annexed in 2014. Russian news reports also claim a Ukrainian exploding drone was found in a forest east of the capital Moscow. While it didn't explode, the incident underscores Kyiv's capacity to reach deep into Russia. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in Japan to meet with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. It's part of a four-nation trade mission. And one person dead and a suspect in custody after a shooting at a two-year college in Midwest City, Oklahoma. And that shooting on the campus of Rose State College. Stocks finished mixed, the Dow up 67, the NASDAQ down 35. More at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
My name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. You can protect your hard-earned retirement assets with a tax-free loophole that allows you to convert your retirement into physical gold and silver. Advantage Gold is the nation's highest-rated gold company. They have the best process, pricing, and service. If you want to get your free gold and silver investment kit, please contact Advantage Gold right now. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. Not as chilly, no frost or freeze tonight, a low down to 46 degrees. A high of 68 for Tuesday. Partly to mostly cloudy, just a touch below normal, but that's kind of the trend this week. Cooler than normal. Wednesday, 45 for the low, 66 in the afternoon with partly to mostly cloudy skies. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
This makes me so mad.
What are you talking about? No, the
White House meeting with the
Tennessee Democrats.
How stupid do you look calling one set of groups insurrectionists and destructive to the country, and then you praise these people?
Oh, dude, there are
How
two
dumb
sets of
you look.
rules. There are two sets of rules.
My
What was it
mind
last
is blown.
week? Yeah, the protesters. What was the story last week before I left? That was so. It was so obviously like rules for one side that don't apply to another side. You know, like just like Nancy Pelosi saying, you know, calling one group of protesters, you know, they're expressing their righteous anger, and another group of protesters as insurrectionists.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
This is just so blatant, though. This is so blatant that you seriously demonize a group of human beings, and then the same people who practically did the exact same thing, you bring them to the White House and praise them and give them these lavish gifts and exposure.
Yeah, because it's not about the issue. It's about the side of the aisle you're on. That's what determines the set of rules that you have to play by.
Disgusting.
All right, check this out. Missouri gun tax exemption bill is being discussed. This is legislation sponsored by Missouri State Senator Rick Bratton, a Republican from Harrisonville. Sales of firearms and ammunition made in Missouri would be exempt from taxes beginning in August if his bill goes through. But the measure, which earlier won approval in the Senate, could cost local governments nearly $95 million in lost revenue, while the state would see a $78 million reduction, according to a nonpartisan fiscal analysis of the bill. Richard Sheets, executive director of the Missouri Municipal League, told members of the House Ways and Means Committee that ending the collection of sales taxes on guns could reduce funds for local law enforcement. Quote, I think we need to understand these local sales taxes are important to our citizens, Sheets said. Reducing those services would harm the community. Bratton dismissed those concerns, arguing that the fiscal analysis outlining the projected costs was wildly outlandish and that people shouldn't be taxed based on the Second Amendment right to bear arms. He says, quote, the impetus of this for me is that it's a constitutional right. For us to levy those taxes against a constitutional right, I feel, is a bad move on our part as a government. The measure narrowly passed the Senate on a vote of 19 to 15. 5 state Republicans joined Democrats in voting against the legislation, which awaits a vote in the House committee. So this is super interesting to me, and I look forward to talking to Rodney Boyd, and if we talk to anybody like Nick Schroer or Justin Sparks anytime soon, I'm going to bring this up with them as well. I think we have Aaron Tarlow from Southern Armory on one day this week, so we'll definitely talk to him about this as well. But basically, this Republican senator in Missouri, Rick Bratton, is saying that because the right to bear arms is a constitutional right, we shouldn't have to pay taxes on guns or ammunition. And I can't believe I'm saying these words, but I don't think I've ever defended a tax before in my life, but I don't see it that way. I don't see it as like you should still pay. I'm the biggest Second Amendment supporter there is. But you should still pay sales tax on, just like you pay sales tax on anything else.
It's a purchase.
Now listen, you want to eliminate sales tax or reduce sales tax across the board? Let's go.
Fine.
Sign me up. But I'm not sure that I'm on board with this. Well, the Second Amendment gives you the right to bear arms, so you shouldn't have to pay sales tax on guns.
It is an interesting discussion, though, to be had that I don't think I've ever heard before about the purchase of arms.
I don't think I have either.
Of saying, like, this is actually...
And I don't think I've ever been on the other side of a pro-gun argument. Like, I'm not on...
But I hate to sound stupid on air. I'm sorry, y'all, if I do.
Listen, this is brand new. We're all hearing it for the first time, so we're kind of processing our own opinion here.
But what else in the Constitution involves purchasing?
That's a great question.
Like, what else do you have to purchase?
I haven't had time to really think about it because this is my thing, as you know, kind of making analogies or like comparing, trying to make that flip, the flip test argument or like, I'm trying to think if there is another right. And to tweet me if you think of something at Tony Colombo Talk. If there's another right in the Constitution that involves something that you have to buy something to exercise that right,
because that is
you have to buy a gun to exercise your right to bear arms.
Compelling argument.
Unless you build a gun, I guess, but you know what I mean.
But you're still probably
99%.
There's taxes
of people.
on what you're building.
There you go. Exactly. So
wow.
I just don't think that I agree that it should be sales tax exempt. Now, you want to, like I said, you want to talk about eliminating sales tax, period? Or
we're down.
Let's have that conversation. But to specifically single out firearms for this, I don't think that I agree.
I do like the argument, though. I do like the idea of being like, this is a constitutional right.
I do too.
So why? I just have never heard that before.
I'd have to look into also because, the claims made by this group that is at least claims to be a nonpartisan fiscal analysis group says that it will decrease funding to law enforcement across the state. A lot of places, it's common that specific sales taxes go to specific places. Like you always hear from the lottery, the lottery, taxes on the lottery goes to schools. There's a lot of school funding done by lottery. So I would imagine that is probably a true statement, a lot of gun revenue, state revenue, goes into law enforcement in some fashion.
Okay.
So, I certainly don't want to defund the police.
Totally.
Any more than we've already had that conversation.
Wow, that is really interesting.
But yeah, I don't think I agree. I'm all for lowering taxes or eliminating taxes across the board, but to cherry pick one like this?
Yeah, but it is a good cherry pick. It is a good, I don't know what else, whenever we were talking about our Constitution and the right to bear arms, that's a good, plausible argument to be like, well, what are we doing with our tax? Where is the taxes going? That's a big thing that you just talked about.
Right. Yep. And again, I created a show called Second Amendment Radio, for God's sakes. You're not going to find somebody that is more pro-Second Amendment, pro-gun
This is your libertarian predicament. This
than
is
anybody. But this is I just don't know that I agree with this one. In a minute, I am going to ask for your help, everyone's help in something. I need your help on social media, on Twitter. I don't think I've ever asked for anything like this before. I'm going to get into that in just a second because I have a couple of stories revolving around Elon Musk and Twitter, and so we'll get into that in a moment. But you had an update on Budweiser.
Things aren't going good for Budweiser.
Okay.
Things are not going good.
That's that is a headline.
This is from the Daily Caller. Budweiser announced Sunday that Daniel Blake, a group vice president for marketing at Anheuser-Busch, would be taking a leave of absence amid the ongoing controversy over Bud Light's partnership with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Blake's announcement comes on the heels of Budweiser marketing executive Alyssa Heinerschneid.
Sure.
Her decision to take a leave of absence. Now, she was also one of the people.
Yeah, she was the one that got all the.
She did the videos.
That was very quoted and all that. Yeah, her video was
explaining
all over
why
the
she
place.
chose this. So she has also taken a leave of absence. Yeah. Daniel Blake, who started with the company as an intern.
She's a female executive.
Oh, yeah.
In the world of misogyny. And
oh, yeah. She really fought tooth and nail to get there.
She made that point clear.
So Daniel Blake, he started out as an intern, but oversaw the marketing across Budweiser's mainstream brands, including Stella and Busch. The pair's decisions to take leaves of absence from the company were not voluntary. Blake also spearheaded multiple successful advertising campaigns for the company, including the 2017 Super Bowl commercial. Following Bud Light's partnership with Mulvaney, a slew of conservative celebrities, politicians, and activists called for a boycott against the brand. Don't necessarily know if it was a boycott. I don't think conservatives were like, end Bud Light. I think people were like, I'm choosing to drink another beer.
Yeah.
So it was a boycott, not a boycott.
Yeah. It wasn't really like this whole cancel or it just kind of
it was like, oh,
everybody went, you know what? We're not going to support these.
That's okay.
Guys.
We'll buy another brand. Mm-hmm. The ongoing backlash against Bud Light also seems to have an economic impact on the company. Duh. According to Beer Business Daily, Bud Light sales plummeted at 10% in the first week of April. So two executives stepped down that were highly influential with this marketing campaign, not voluntarily. They've lost a chunk of money. Stock market, as you said in the last week, stock market plummeted.
And that's a really important distinction there. What you just said about the beer sales being down 10%. We talked to Jeff Fitter,
Yes.
the owner of Super Smokers, last week or the week before, whenever this came out. He was interviewed by Fox News, and he talked about, like, in the first, it was just like 5 days, maybe a week after the Dylan Mulvaney controversy hit, that at his restaurants, Anheuser-Busch Bud Light sales was down like 30% or something. Now, all this talk has been focused on Anheuser-Busch lost $7 billion. They didn't lose $7 billion. The evaluation of the stock went down. So the value of the company went down $7 billion. But it didn't, like, $7 billion didn't go out the door. Or they didn't lose $7 billion in sales. So as big of that's still a real story, and it's still a very impressive.
Number in a week.
Yeah, it's still a very impressive. But that's a bigger deal.
Yeah.
The 10% down in sales, that's a bigger deal. That's actual, like, real losses to the company when sales go down 10%. And it doesn't seem to be like one of those things where people are like gonna forget. Like, I'm not gonna I'm gonna try some Coors this week, and then a week later go back to the Bud Light. Like, it seems like there could be some staying power behind this, that will be what really sets this apart from other boycotts or boycotts or cancellations that we've seen in the past.
To me, it seems like when you stick in an ideology as dramatic and as controversial as what we're seeing with Dylan Mulvaney, when conservatives say that they are going to either not buy your product anymore and move on to another product, I think as of late, probably the last 2-3 years, conservatives are meaning it. They are not letting go of Nike. They are not letting go of, they are saying we are no longer purchasing your product because you made us mad, and we have seen the repercussions. Now, Nike's a huge company. Bud Light's a huge company. They're able to take the hit if they want to, but people are going to get fired along the way. You're losing money, and people are going to pay the piper, which is the ultimate goal, I think.
That's right. So, I need your help.
Okay.
Liberal celebrities and journalists are angry at Elon Musk because he gave them their blue check mark back. Did you see this story?
First world problems.
Did you see this story? A list of liberal celebrities and journalists are complaining after Twitter CEO Elon Musk restored their blue check mark to their Twitter profile without requiring them to pay for verification. In fact, one person even said that this was done without my consent.
Oh,
that was the
brother.
words that they used. Without you
gosh.
put the blue check mark on without my consent. Like, what?
That is so gross to me. So gross.
So, if anybody has been listening to the lore of Colombo and Katie and the history of News Talk STL, you will remember that I once had the blue check mark, and my co-host and our social media director, who is way more tech savvy and smarter than I, said I could change my Twitter handle without losing my blue check mark. So I did, and I lost it.
Immediately.
And so, the moment I pushed enter, I lost it. So when I saw this story, I sent a tweet to Elon Musk today. At Tony Colombo Talk is my Twitter handle. It used to be at Tony Colombo 971, but when we moved and we started the new radio station, Katie, rightfully so, was like, might want to get the old radio station out of your Twitter handle. So I agreed, changed it, but lost my blue check mark. So I sent a tweet to Elon Musk today saying, with a screenshot of this story of all these liberal celebrities and journalists angry that he restored their blue check mark, saying, you can give me back my blue check mark, and because I don't want to pay for it either, but he just gave it back to them for free. I said, at Elon Musk, you could give me back my blue check mark, and I won't complain one bit. I'll be happy to have it back. So what I would like you to do is go to Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk and like it or retweet it or whatever. And let's see if we can get Elon Musk's attention.
God, that was.
And let's see if we can get my blue
crazy.
check mark back, because I'm not paying for it.
That is so crazy.
But you know, at least I'll be grateful. I told him. I said. I tweeted at Elon Musk and I said, "You have my consent."
You have my consent.
I have my consent.
In what world do these?
And I threw you under the bus.
Yeah, I saw. Thanks.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe we'll both get blue check marks
so
out of it.
Go to at Tony Colombo Talk on Twitter and follow me anyway. I don't bombard you with a bunch of stuff. It's usually fun stuff or important, headlines or things like that. So, have a lot of fun there on Twitter. But follow me, and if you would, like or retweet or whatever my tweet to Elon Musk, and let's see if I can get my blue check mark back. Without paying for it, because I have no interest in paying for it.
No, not at all. But I don't understand why everybody, like the day they lost their blue check mark, everyone was up in arms. Everyone was like, "Oh,
and now they're mad.
But
now they're mad they're giving it back."
Exactly. It was like the biggest flip flop. They're like, he took away our blue check mark without our consent, and then he puts it back, and they're like, he put the blue check mark there without our consent.
Without my consent. So, for example, actor Ron Perlman said, "Just for the record, I have not subscribed to Twitter Blue, nor will I ever."
Okay.
When he got his back. Actor Ian McClellan said, "Despite the implication when you click the blue badge that has mysteriously reappeared beside my name, I am not paying for the honor," he put in quotes. Patton Oswalt got it back, but immediately changed his name so he would lose it again. He was so angry that they gave him the blue check mark back that he changed his Twitter handle so it would go away again.
Bro, just get off of Twitter.
He said, "Phew, did the change your name, then change it back trick, and the blue check went away. Good to know."
Oh, my God.
New York Times columnist Paul Krugman, liberal podcast host Kara Swisher, and MSNBC executive producer Kyle Griffin wanted their followers to know that they had, quote, nothing to do with getting their check marks back. Krugman tweeted, quote, "So my blue check has reappeared. I had nothing to do with that and am definitely not paying." Afterwards, Elon Musk replied with a toddler crying meme.
It is, though. Where goes the baby? You're really just making the biggest hubbub about a blue check. It's just...
I love it. I love that he trolls them.
I do too. I love that he's got their number. Someone had to get their number, and I'm glad it's him.
Listen, even if I don't get the blue check mark, I don't care. Let's see if we can get Elon Musk's attention.
I would love that.
If he could just, he replied to this person with the crying meme.
So great.
I would love any reply whatsoever.
Anything.
So, at Tony Colombo Talk on Twitter, retweet, like, whatever, comment, anything to get it a little more traction.
I love it.
And to try to get Elon Musk's attention. I consent.
He consent.
I don't consent to paying for it, but I consent to getting my blue
So
check
do
mark
you
back.
think that that's also part of it? Obviously, Elon Musk is one part of the deal where they're going to raise all hell because it has to do with Elon Musk and they think he's an alt-right conservative now. But I think the other part of it too is the principle of them being we want to specify we did not pay for the blue check mark. We did not pay for it at all ever.
Yeah, because they can't ever, because that's exactly right, because the whole appearing to agree with or go along with anything to do with Elon Musk is bad.
Oh, yeah.
They cannot
horrible.
be I would never give him a dime. Even
yes.
though they probably, half of them probably drive Teslas. I would never give them a dime. It would never work with him or support what he's doing.
Totally.
So don't you think that I gave him money for that blue check mark? I will never do that.
I think it's both of those things tied together. It's the principle of the thought of being I would never give money to an organization like this, and it's Elon Musk. So they're okay, Trump was the ultimate troll, and now we have ultimate troll 2.0.
Yep.
Only it's like he's the genius of the world right now. Like what are you gonna do? It's
Right.
he is a actual genius.
Wouldn't it be fun to get his attention?
I think that's great. I think we keep doing this until we get his attention.
Let's get his attention.
Honestly.
Let's get his attention. Go
I
to
say
my
that.
Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk. It's my most recent tweet. I sent it a couple hours ago. Literally to Elon Musk.
Amazing.
Telling him that I consent to my blue check mark coming back as long as he's paying for it like he did for these other guys. And that I won't be offended
Right.
by him restoring my blue check mark.
Right.
Quick reminder that you can go to our website, newstalkstl.com, and you can get yourself registered for a $500 gift certificate from Blust Jewelers. News Talk STL and Blust Jewelers have teamed up to celebrate Mom, just like school kids do every year. We want to give you a chance to say, I love my mom because. Just go to newstalkstl.com, and in a sentence or two, tell us why you love your mom. We'll post every entry on our website so everybody can see how great your mom is. And one randomly selected winner will also receive a $500 gift certificate to Blust Jewelers just in time for Mother's Day. Again, go to newstalkstl.com to get yourself registered and for more details, and visit Blust Jewelers at blustjewelers.com. All right, the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show coming in next. Colombo and Katie back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Follow me on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk. Follow Katie at KFitzTalks on Twitter. And, of course, subscribe to the Colombo and Katie podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us here at 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Gone to the other side. The tides are changing.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The Democratic Party doesn't stand with what I stand for.
News Talk STL. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
So this next story deals with something that's been troubling me for some time, maybe you.